Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. A little bit of a backdrop to this video. This actually took not gonna lie, a bit of soul searching if I actually wanted to make this video, simply because in the past I've made videos similar to this, or I have, I'm not the smartest human in the entire world, I get it. I'm also not a coder. I typically am just a very active person in the cryptocurrency community, but I read a lot about what's happening. I try my best to not be biased. So even on coins that I do like or projects that I am completely obsessed with, I still try to make sure that I give information or news, or at least for myself to read about the negatives as well that are happening in that project. I've made videos similar to something like this before where I've spoken about faults in other projects or things that are crypto is still relatively new. Bitcoin is barely, at least at this point, 10 years old. So not everything is going to be perfect. Part of the issue is that when I make stuff like this, people tend to get upset with me. So I beforehand need to clarify that these are not things that I have created. I did not create Bitcoin. I am not part of Blockstream. These are not personally my feelings. I mentioned before that I planned on or thought about making this video simply because these are actual concerns that are happening right now, and not even just in like the general cryptocurrency community. It's actually things that are happening or being questioned by even people who consider themselves to be Bitcoin maximalists. There are a lot of things wrong with a lot of cryptocurrency projects. Like I said, no cryptocurrency project is perfect right now, but the main thing that keeps Bitcoin has been the idea and the white paper that was written, that was spoken about, that laid out exactly what Bitcoin was to be and the exact purpose of Bitcoin. And therefore, what's been happening the last year and a half, a lot of people have been raising their hands and talking about it openly, but then other people say that they are simply spreading FUD, or that there's spreading misinformation in an attempt to bring down that project simply because they may like another project more, or they're trying to fill their pockets, or they're trying to FUD whatever the thing might be. I have Bitcoin. I've been into Bitcoin for quite some time. I would love nothing more than for Bitcoin to actually succeed, simply because if you've watched my other videos, I personally don't care for the old ways of the traditional system. Like, this is the reason why I'm into cryptocurrencies. It may be on one side that I'm in it for the money, but I love the idea of a decentralized world where we have full control over what we own. Like, no one can tell us what we can and cannot do with the money that we have, and this is part of the other main reason why I'm into cryptocurrencies. So that's the backdrop to this story, and I'm going to, once again, these are not my words. I'm explaining to you in this video what's been happening it's been over a year and a half at this point. And more people are starting to realize what's been going on. So here is what's been happening and some of the concerns that people are having. I'll put it that way. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. It says, today we begin with 3 questions. The first one is Blockstream building solutions such as Liquid, which rely on the government for protection of the fulfillment of contracts? And is Blockstream intentionally crippling the throughput of the base layer so that most traffic has to go through their second layer for profitability? I believe this is the third question. There's nothing to be taken away from Blockstream. Thing is, Blockstream can be commended for their wonderful place as a global leader in the blockchain and Bitcoin technology, whose products and services form the foundations for the financial institutions of the future. They have developers in their payroll, and after receiving a $151 million grant, commenters argue that the company is out to mint money to pay back those investors. Therefore, their recent announcement of the Liquid network, a layer 2 solution, is noteworthy. Blockstream describes Liquid as, we spoke about Liquid, it had to be 3 or 4 weeks ago when they finally gave proper news about finally coming out. They said, is an inter-exchange settlement network linking together cryptocurrency exchanges and institutions around the world, enabling faster Bitcoin transactions and the issuance of digital assets, end quote. What this means is that with Liquid Network, Blockstream development team acknowledges that the Bitcoin network, though the most valuable and dominant coin in the sphere, is highly illiquid, slow, and there is a need to overcome the technical and market dynamics hampering its performance as a remittance and cross-border solution. This dip in performance is most likely because of the high latency time and the simple fact that Bitcoin is tied to several exchanges and brokerage environments, And this is the privacy needs and the cost of a transaction becomes high and spikes. We've seen this happen before. Bitcoin is very liquid. Therefore, in an attempt to circumvent this obvious weakness, participants tried other means, but in the process introduced other weaknesses, which are points of failure. Therefore, the team behind Blockstream is coming up with a quick fix. Take out a large chunk of Bitcoin transactions off the main chain and settle them in a second layer by introducing a trust network called Liquid. Liquid network is not fully decentralized and depends on trust. In fact, in this new arrangement, the network shall appoint a fixed number of trusted institutions, functionaries to validate and transfer this chunk of Bitcoin transactions back to the main chain. Basically, a functionary acts as an interbank in a normal banking setup because all they do is pool and redistribute liquidity while acting as payment gateways. What's worse, well, these functionaries are exchanges who the community doesn't really trust. This is the full list of exchanges and other institutions participating in Liquid. When Liquid launched, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we were given a list. I don't know if you remember the exact article. It was something like Liquid Network launches and is already backed by multiple exchanges. And everyone was like, wow, that's great. Because the part of the issue that we've had now is with other upgrades on other cryptocurrency platforms, especially when it comes to Bitcoin and it comes to Lightning Network, which we're also going to get into. The idea has been that you need to have the other exchanges already giving you a thumbs up. And therefore, when they have integrated the same exact thing that we have with SegWit 2x, the network needs to come to a consensus and say that this is okay. You know, a majority of people, in order for it to kind of really get the engines going, have to have raised their hands and said, this is how we're going to proceed, and we're going to be using this. And these are the list of the exchanges. I'm not going to read through all of them. I'm pretty sure you haven't even heard of a lot of them. Autonomy, Atlantic Financial, BitBank, Bitfinex is also a major one. BitMax, BitMEX, Bitso, Bull Exchange, DG Group, GoPax, Corebit, L2B Global, Unocoin, Zappo, XBTO, and Zyfe. The Bitfinex CEO, Paulo Arduino, chipped in saying before, he said if there's one thing our traders need, it's speed. Liquid delivers that in spades. Liquid's instant settlements will allow our traders to achieve faster Bitcoin deposits and withdrawals, more effective arbitrage, and even better pricing through tighter spreads, end quote. The problem with all of this is that the Zyfe exchange was recently hacked. BitMEX has been accused of trading against their customers. Bitfinex is another story, especially when it comes to wash trading, when it comes to the entire Tether debacle that we've been talking about for the last week and a half because it's major news. And OKCoin is accused of wash trading, and all of them are centralized exchanges. A majority of these exchanges that are proposed to be using Liquid have been accused of creating falsified volumes on their exchanges, pretty much swapping cryptocurrencies back and forth between addresses within the actual cryptocurrency exchanges to increase the amount of volume that's on their exchange that is a signal to other people that their exchange is more popular than it actually is, and therefore people will start to use their exchange if they see that they have major volume flowing through it. And this is also a problem if they're doing this to major cryptocurrencies, especially to Bitcoin. It then means that a large amount of Bitcoin's volume that we also had news about from around 2 or 3 weeks ago is also then falsified, meaning that Bitcoin actually isn't being as used as other people are claiming that it actually is. So when you have a situation like this, and these are the companies and corporations and exchanges who are going to be using Liquid, that already raises a gigantic red flag. Someone said on Reddit, the exchanges are points of failure who bear responsibility, and Liquid is a trust-based network, so effectively, Blockstream shifts power to the authorities since a much bigger percentage of the coins will be held by them out of convenience. See what Blockstream announced. They said the high latency of the public Bitcoin network requires Bitcoin to be tied up in multiple exchange and brokerage environments, while its limited privacy adds to the cost of operation. Besides, by creating a network of a strong federation of luminaries, they are intentionally starving miners of their network fees, further discouraging miner participation, weakening the network in the process. There's a conflict of interest. Blockstream is Bitcoin's custodian. They more or less, if you want to put it in like the simplest terms, like you have like the Ethereum Foundation and like the Litecoin so-and-so, like they are pretty much the people who build on top of and kind of sometimes not have the final say, but they are typically the ones who put forth the proposals for Bitcoin upgrades. So therefore, they, in essence, in the lightest terms, have control over Bitcoin's code. Like they are the people who kind of write on top of it. Bitcoin's custodian, and are creating a solution that doesn't promote the development of the main chain throughput. Depending on who you ask, once again, this is not my own word. A lot of the people from the Bitcoin community have been stating that Blockstream for quite a while now has been actively trying to make sure that they don't upgrade Bitcoin. This is exactly it, because I'm already trying to choose my words in like the nicest way and stuff like that, and it's really a shame because it gets annoying when you try to put out information out there of things that are happening, and then people end up attacking you in some type of way, talking about that you got it incorrect, or you're spreading FUD, or you're doing something wrong, in the realest way possible. Part of the reason why we have Bitcoin Cash is simply because that a lot of the people on the Bitcoin Cash team and the project say that they are still in contact with Satoshi Nakamoto, and therefore this is why they actually made Bitcoin Cash. It's simply because when Blockstream took over for Bitcoin, it's been noted before that the actual Bitcoin, like number one coin, can actually scale on its own in its own network. It may not be the easiest thing, but the 5 to 7 transactions per second is something that's being held in place by Blockstream because they are trying to create other sidechain layers in order to be able to profit from Bitcoin being slow. If that, not even if that makes sense, that should completely make sense. Like I said, Bitcoin Cash is basically more or less the exact same code of Bitcoin, and this is why you may have noticed a couple of months ago we constantly had news of Bitcoin Cash upping the game and increasing their block size and increasing this, and I think Bitcoin Cash can now do 71 transactions per second, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been noted many times before by other analysts that Bitcoin can do the exact same amount of transactions per second, but Blockstream is making sure that Bitcoin doesn't have any of these improvements, upgrades, updates, whatever you kind of want to call them. And I think it's really interesting as well that there's so many people who are into Bitcoin and like heavily into Bitcoin. And when I've discussed or tried to discuss things with them before, they told me that the idea of Bitcoin Cash or increasing block sizes is against the fundamental idea of what Bitcoin is and what Bitcoin should be. And then when I try to discuss with them and I say, isn't the point of Bitcoin being a global payment system? Like, isn't the point of Bitcoin, if we have problems, especially in 2017, where Bitcoin's price goes over $10,000, and I think at this point there were 50,000 transactions that were being delayed or stuck inside the network, and then by the time Bitcoin got up to $20,000, we were around 200,000 transactions, and Bitcoin's network fees were around $30. We know, based on what the other Bitcoin forks have done on their networks, especially when we had news before that, once again, this is not me boasting about Bitcoin Cash and how everyone should use Bitcoin Cash. This is not financial advice. Even the fact that I have to say that is insane. We can see that what the other forks have done means that Bitcoin by itself can scale properly at least 10 times from where it is right now, to make the network a bit more robust and allow other people to be able to use it. Even when you the people from the Bitcoin maximalists and the Bitcoin Cash people all agree that the idea of, at least on some level, that the idea of a side chain is something that Satoshi would have wanted, or something that Satoshi does want. But the problem that we have here, and a lot of this is going to slowly come together, is that the proposals that we have for sidechains, or rather the entire point of Bitcoin, is so that you can send money around the world with ease without needing an intermediary, without needing a third party, without needing other exchanges in order to be able to send your money through them, or without having to have astronomical transaction fees. And then the fact that there are people who say that they are for Bitcoin disagree, and I've even heard some people who claim that they are Bitcoin maximalists, quote unquote, who now say that they think that Bitcoin being slow is a great thing, and that Bitcoin should be slow, as it should only be used by like the elite in the world, or the people who got in early enough to be able to have as much the people who got in early, the people who have 10,000 Bitcoin, it should only be transacted between them, because these are, it's a very weird mindset, and I'm pretty sure a lot more of this is going to start bubbling forward within the next couple of, if Bitcoin ends up hitting around $100,000 per coin, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people going to come out of the woodworks and they're going to start talking about this openly, how they think that Bitcoin should just be for the elite. That's something else completely different. So let's try and move forward because it's kind of all flowing together. So on top of this as well is the information about the Lightning Network. I touched on this, and I think it had to be maybe 2 or 3 other videos. I said like touched on it simply because, like I said, the idea of me making a video like this is very odd to me simply because I don't like to sway to one side or the other. But when you see that something is not wrong, when people are complaining or starting to figure out things, and I mentioned these before, and people, like I said, people told me that I was lying or I was so and so and so. Part of the main things, or one of the things about the Lightning Network right now that's becoming a problem as well, and it has nothing to do with the adoption or people not using it, is that people are slowly starting to realize that one of the main things about the Lightning Network is that in order to actually use the Lightning Network, this is actually the thing for it. I'll get into that in a second as well. One of the main things about the Lightning Network is pretty much that in order to use the Lightning Network, you have to pre-fund your node on the network. So if you're trying to open up a payment channel between, let's say, me and you, like we're trying to open up a payment channel between ourselves, we would have to pre-fund with how much cryptocurrency Bitcoin that we're trying to send through that network. And the main argument is that a lot of people who are going to be able to have the largest nodes or are going to be able to process the most transactions are going to be the people who got in early, or the richest institutions who have been gobbling up Bitcoin over the last anywhere from 10 months to the last 3 to 4 or 5 years. And pretty much if you have a node open and you have it pre-funded, if you will, with 1 Bitcoin, you're not going to have as many transactions as another institution or something like that. Let's say a bank who is able to pre-fund theirs with about 10,000, 15,000 Bitcoin. And also on the Lightning Network as well, when you're actually doing this, you get paid from having your node do the transactions. And this is also another thing that a lot of people have been, more so miners, have become a little peeved at the notion of this, because it also once again takes away money from the miners who are actually validating the other transactions on the network, and is then in this way that they then become decentivized even further to not have their machines running. It's great to be able to create the Bitcoin, but part of the issue is that miners also want to be able to make the money, and this is why they're mining the cryptocurrencies themselves. So with the Lightning Network, the idea is, and has been for quite some time, the institutions that have already begun, anyone can open up a Lightning Network node, but the ones who are going to prevail the most are the people who have the most money. And this is why I said I thought it was quite interesting over the last 10 months to maybe 15 months. We've seen a major shift in the amount of banks and corporations and institutions who are talking about getting into Bitcoin and getting into cryptocurrency, and how much they love Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies right now. How we don't hear about JP Morgan Chase or Jamie Dimon talking negatively about Bitcoin anymore. How we heard from the people from Fidelity, and we heard from the people from ICE and the New York Stock Exchange, and more so Fidelity, talking about that they've actually been mining Bitcoin for the last 3 or 4 years. So the idea that you can have a major institution or corporation or financial entity, whatever you kind of want to call them, who has gotten into Bitcoin, has been mining Bitcoin for the last 3 years, and you think that they wouldn't take the opportunity to open up their own Lightning Network node to be able to further not only profit from being able to transact the transactions that are going to end up happening on the Bitcoin network, but also making so that there is a centralized feature in that. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Remember a day or two ago, we had news from someone in Visa who said that they would love to get into the Bitcoin space, but they want Bitcoin to become more like fiat before they end up getting into it. And they want to make sure that when they do get into the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency game, this was Visa, mind you, they said that when they do so, they're going to make sure that they are still a middleman. How do you have a middleman in all of this? You buy a Lightning, or you get a Lightning Network node, which apparently I've heard many times before that you can get like specialized nodes. Don't quote me on that. You can get specialized nodes from Blockstream, or they can help you set one up, and they're not really partial on who they actually help set one up, i.e., the entire idea of being inside of Bitcoin has been this, decentralized. Let's get away from banks, let's get away from the old institutions. The people from Blockstream will gladly help you set one up, especially if you are willing to pay them for the service. So we have a situation now, like I said, so many people don't understand that Bitcoin, and I saw the comments in one of my other videos when I said the exact same thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, and I know it's very difficult, especially because we have something like Bitcoin, we have something like Ethereum, we have this whole utopian cryptocurrency space. A lot of people think that for some reason, and I don't understand where this mindset is coming from, that because Bitcoin is decentralized, that institutions have no desire to get into it, and therefore they would never buy a Lightning Network node because they don't want to get into a decentralized marketplace or whatever. And if Bitcoin is to one day become a multi-trillion-dollar network that's more or less worth trillions, you'd better believe that there are at least 10 banks in the world right now who are running Lightning Network nodes, and they're making sure that they're going to continue profiting from it. When you have people like Visa, all the clues are there, but so many people, like I said, I get you want to believe so bad that Bitcoin can't be hacked, can't, have bad things done against it. Like, there are no malicious actors on the network. We have the entirety of Wall Street has come together in 2018 as our market was going down, telling us that they're getting into cryptocurrencies. Lightning Network and Liquid are two of the main proposals for the scaling and speeding up of Bitcoin. You think that none of these institutions are thinking about or have already started their own Lightning Network node in order to continue? Like, if a bank's future profits are at stake because of Bitcoin, and someone introduces them to the Lightning Network and tells them, hey, you can still be an intermediary, like, things have to pass through you, do you think they're going to go, no, Bitcoin's way too decentralized, I can't touch that? They're going to jump on that immediately, especially if you dig deeper into the Lightning Network. If you are running a Lightning Network node, and you, especially, let's say you have one of the things about the Lightning Network is that you can choose to deny transactions. This is something that doesn't happen on the Bitcoin network right now, which is a major thing. This is like I said, this is all tying into Lightning Network and also Liquid. If you are running a Lightning Network node and you somehow decide that you want to blacklist that address and that address and that address, you do not have to take the money from them, like transfers from them. And this also can, this ends up to be a point where we have this like potentially hyper allegedly centralized network, because being able to deny transactions is also it's not a part of the core of what cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are supposed to be. One of the main arguments for this entire thing has been, this is actually the representation of the Lightning Network as we have it right now. A lot of people have been pointing out that there are like heavily centralized points where the network kind of branches off from. I've watched Andreas Antonopoulos' videos before, where he talks about what's it called, like the current centralization of the Lightning Network and how this will pass as time goes on and more nodes end up going online and stuff like that. But this also then ties into the entire thing that we've had before, where we know that first of all, 96% of all Bitcoin is held by 4% of wallets. And there was something, you can Google it, I can't remember if it was from Bloomberg or from Fortune. They said 2 or 3 days ago, and I didn't have it in one of the videos. It was more like a quick Passover read. They said, I think 40% of all Bitcoin is held by, they think, less than 1,000 people. And that's not even including, like, we've had instances like this, once again, where people have claimed or said that they've seen the wallet's addresses themselves and they've seen how much Bitcoin are actually in them, but they said that they were from cryptocurrency exchanges. We have people who look at the blockchain and who look at Bitcoin like viciously every single day to make sure that they know exactly what's going on and when all the big wallets are moving, and they have figured out exactly which wallets correspond to cryptocurrency exchanges, which is also a very big problem, but that's something completely different. So it's less than 1,000 people who control or own more than 40% of all the Bitcoin that's already out there, which also then leads us to when you listen to speeches and stuff like that from Andreas Antonopoulos, it's interesting you have to pay attention. and I don't know if it's because I'm a skeptic or because I like to kind of always have the larger picture. Even when Andreas Antonopoulos talks about Bitcoin and stuff like that, you like watch his last 10, 15 videos. They're all kind of not lengthy, but it's usually just him talking into a camera. What he ends up saying is that he does admit that Bitcoin does have centralized features right now, and the hope is that as the time goes on and these network ends up expanding even further, that this will kind of end at a certain point, or there won't be this much of an issue. But when you already have a situation where 96%, and I'm pretty sure it's even more than 96% of it right now, is owned by a few hands. And I've stated before, one of my main problems that I have with crypto right now, and it's not even really a problem with the cryptocurrency system, it's more that a lot of the people, in my opinion, who should have been getting into cryptocurrencies have been completely pushed out of the ecosystem. And cryptocurrencies very quick is going to become just a game for the rich. And don't mistake me for making this video. Like, this doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to die. The point of this video is that this is a concern that people are having right now in the Bitcoin ecosystem. That, if anything, if you want my honest opinion, this means that Bitcoin is probably going to survive even more. When you have what could essentially become a centralized, cornered network, it's more of a chance that Bitcoin, when one of the main things I thought about many years ago, and I was thinking, when banks and institutions did eventually get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, would there be enough for them? And I thought it would kind of be this big, mad rush to kind of, for everyone to try and get as much Bitcoin as they could, while banks and institutions were getting it. And then what ended up happening in 2017 at the very end of it, and also to 2018, is that as prices have been going down, we've seen that over-the-counter sales of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have gone up exponentially while prices have gone down. So the normal people who were into cryptocurrencies have essentially, a large number of them have pretty much sold all of it. And this is why we had news a couple of months ago that there was a guy who, somewhere in Dubai or something like that, he got 30,000 Bitcoin within a couple of months, which leads me to believe, if it's not that easy, I'm pretty sure he's worth a pretty penny. But this is one of the reasons why, and you've heard me state this before as well, I had doubts about the future of Bitcoin and where Bitcoin was probably going to go. I no longer think that Bitcoin is ever going to go away, and that's only because the rich people now control it. You can say what you want. You can say that they don't. You can say that that's not a thing. You can say that I'm spreading FUD. You can say, Google around for like an hour, like actually like sit down, do your own research, and figure out. You can even find like it's a very easy list of all the people who own them as well. Like, it's all the people who we constantly hear about. It's like, it's Tim Draper, it's Mike Novogratz, it's the Winklevoss twins. Like, we know who exactly these people are who own hundreds of thousands of portions of Bitcoin. And I think since they've waited this long to be able to get as much, 8 months is a very long time in crypto, and 8 months is even a longer time when you have passive income and all this other stuff and all these other investments that maybe get you a couple million per month, and you can just drop $1 million into Bitcoin and constantly keep buying more and more. Especially even if the same exact people were boasting about buying Bitcoin when it was between $1 and $10. I guess let's move on from this one portion of it. But this is what's happening. And like I said, I feel like I should make videos like this to let you guys know, because I've done it before as well for other things, like when Ripple had lawsuits against them and stuff as well. Like, no coin is perfect, no company, no institution is perfect, but it's looking like right now what's happening to Bitcoin is, it's a bit like one-sided, if you will. So that's one other thing. And yeah, this is just kind of the entire back end of the entire discussion. There's been a lot of heat around Blockstream. A lot of people have not cared for them for quite some time. A lot of people think that when people fork Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, I mean, we get to a point like you don't need 47 different forks of Bitcoin. But a lot of the earlier forks of coins, especially when you have like Ethereum versus Ethereum Classic, there are ways that people believe that certain projects should be run, or what they should do, or how they should form, or how they should continue on, and who should be using them and stuff like that. If you have the time, search around. Blockstream has been known, or rather at this moment, it is believed heavily that Blockstream is essentially keeping Bitcoin slow on purpose to be able to create side chains that they can profit from. If you have the time, and I couldn't show you the actual video simply because it would have given me not a copyright strike, but like you can't show other people's videos and stuff like that in your own video and blah 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 blah. So on YouTube, there's a channel called Alex Miller, Millar, so you know that you're at the right channel. He has a video. It's called Samson Mo Interview, Blockstream's Profit Model, Liquid, and Chinese Exchanges. If the most important parts, it's a 9-minute interview, I think. Just pay attention from the very beginning to around 2 minutes into it. And the 1 minute and 38-second part is the most important part as to what the, if I'm not mistaken, like the head of Blockstream actually says about Bitcoin and the entire point of Blockstream. Like I said before, Blockstream pretty much controls and develops on Bitcoin. They are like like they made Liquid, they made Lightning. They're the go-to when it comes to new things being on top of Bitcoin. I don't know if we're going to get more news, not exclusively from me, but more stuff on this. A lot of people, I feel like, don't really care about it, and that's simply because, like I said before, you can believe me or not, I feel like Bitcoin is just about the money right now. A lot of people who are into cryptocurrencies, realistically, on the realist level, I guess, ever, could probably care less about the decentralization of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies if it can make them a millionaire. And I sat here one time and I thought about that. I was listening to a podcast. I was walking down the street and I was like, they were talking about the decentralization of exchanges and how this is changing and how people are building this and doing so and so. And I sat there for a second and I was like, even if the idea of decentralization is important to you, we all know that money changes people. This is just a fact of life. You may care for a second, or rather, I'll put it this way. Most people may care or state that they care, but typically, if you figure out that you stand to make $5 to $10 million because of the centralization of a network, especially when we have grown up with centralized networks and banks and institutions and stuff like that, most people tend to not care. So this is why I think a lot of people haven't really been talking about this. I don't know if other YouTube channels are not afraid, but you don't. Like I said, it took some soul searching for me as well to be able to make something like this, simply because a lot of people get very upset when it comes to if you say anything negative about any cryptocurrency project. Like anyone, like I understand, like I really do, not wanting to hear something negative about what you may have your money in, or a coin that you may have invested in, or some project that you have thought is holier than thou. Crypto's still incredibly new. There's still a lot of time for more improvements, but I feel if you've paid attention to anything that I've said the last 10 months from this very date, you probably have noticed that the scales have tipped, and it's just in one direction, and it's just for the very wealthy right now. I don't think normal people, in my opinion, have a major chance anymore of becoming rich from Bitcoin, and this is why I think there's been a major shift towards altcoins right now, because people are, in my humble opinion, it's usually more likely that a coin will go from 6 cents to 60 cents than it is on a given day from Bitcoin going from 6,500 to 65,000. I mean, I guess that's really going to do it for this video. This has been a discussion for quite some time. There are a couple of other people who have made videos on this. They are all but, they've flown into obscurity somewhere right now. Don't think, like I said, once again, that major banks aren't trying to control Bitcoin. I don't know where that idea came from, that because Bitcoin is decentralized, that banks and institutions are not going to even touch it and going to try and stay away from it. We have the New York Stock Exchange talking about that they think that Bitcoin could be the world currency, or a world currency, and that's not going to happen with everyone around the world having an equal slice of pie, or Bitcoin being as decentralized as it is right now. In order to make claims like that you think that Bitcoin could become a major world currency, you have to have some level of hyper centralization for you to be able to control it and you to be able to make a claim like that. Like I said, I think that's going to do it for this video. I want to say I hope you all enjoyed. I didn't mean to make not a depressing video, but it's just something that's really happening right now. It's just, it's there. Like, we know that it's actually happening, and it'll make a bit more sense. Like, actually, please watch this video. Samson Mao interview Blockstream's profit model on Alex Miller's channel. I don't know Alex Miller. This is not me shouting him out or saying hello, what's up. He has the video uploaded of the Blockstream guy talking about the entire what Blockstream is doing, and it'll all make a lot more sense. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Let me know what you think. Everyone has their own ideas. Like I said, I don't think this isn't me saying that Bitcoin is gone. It's dead. It's a dead fish in the water. If anything, now my belief around Bitcoin continuing and thriving is, I feel like it's solidified at this point. You don't have multiple major stock exchanges around the world talking about that they're going to be trading Bitcoin, and then you assume that Bitcoin is just going to disappear in about 2 years. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.